The breadth of life theory, developed by Cindy BlackStock. The breadth of life theory, BOL, uses First Nations ontology and the theory of everything as a way to explain existence, being, and reality. BOL illustrates the connection between human beings to the Earth and the universe, and human existence throughout time and space. BOL is to be enhanced by others' experiences to encompass various First Nations ontologies, ways of being. BOL provides a framework to the structural risks affecting children's safety and well-being are alleviated when the relational worldview principles are in balance within the context and culture of the community. The child, family, community, and the world are influenced by 4 dimensions of knowledge: emotional, spiritual, cognitive, and physical. As shown in this image, we can see the 4 dimensions being broken down further into daily life occurrences. Within these 4 dimensions, the knowledge is gained through ancestral teachings and passed on to the next generation. BlackStock states that a direct comparison of Indigenous perspectives and Western perspectives is not possible because of their differences with dimension, scope, and values. Thus, she uses both to build her BOL theory. Here's a visual comparison of the 2 worldviews. We can see that, as previously mentioned, the child, community, and world are seen as one and are influenced by the 4 dimensions. However, in the Western worldview, we see that the child places a small role at the bottom, and all these systems are seen to influence the child. But there is no interconnectivity between each of those systems and a depiction of impact onto the child. Since a direct comparison between Indigenous and Western worldviews would not highlight or showcase either of the worldviews, here is a chart to highlight each of their characteristics, focuses, and approaches. Beginning with Indigenous worldviews, we see that there is a belief in simple principles to explain time and space. There is a multi-dimensional view and approach through culture, spirituality, and/or ritualistic ceremonies. We see interconnectivity. There is an expansive concept of time and space. There is a multi-generational approach, unified and interdependent theories, and all relationships matter. In addition, there is passing down of knowledge and ways of being. Next, we have Western worldviews. Here we see that individualistic knowledge and experience is valued. There is a lack of structure to include history and future. There's a priority towards new things, ideas, and concepts. Compartmentalization of Western knowledge and social sciences are seen. There is a continual working on a unified theory of nature. There's deep value for ancestral findings. There is this need to break things down with a focus on only one lifespan, and only human relationships matter. First Nation ontology and the theory of everything share the idea that all reality across time and space is interconnected. BOL is meant to look 7 generations behind
and 7 generations forward. Adequate reflection of life requires people in the here and now to examine past doings as context and current adjustments to consider future consequences.
The creation of the BOL theory was done out of concern for the consequences and high number of Indigenous children in foster care, especially since when these numbers are higher than former residential schools. Through residential schools, the 60s scoop, and the contemporary foster care system, Indigenous family structures have been repeatedly disrupted, resulting in the intergenerational trauma, substance use, housing instability, and loss of cultural connection. Here's a visual representation of the BOL theory. We can see the importance of ancestral knowledge as it continues from the beginning all the way to the end, and the arrows signify that there is continuation for past generations and future generations. In addition, we can see that the 4 principles discussed of physical, emotional, spiritual, and cognitive are also present. That has more structure within a box. In addition, we see that cultural and contextual strings give rise to different manifestations of humanity. So it's kind of showing how culture and context can be demonstrated in humanity and within our societies, and that this is also influenced by what's seen on top and at the very bottom, that structural assets and risk, also these assets and risks to specific groups of children and families, influence everything else going on in the middle. It influences principles, it influences culture and context, and it's also influencing the use of ancestral knowledge. BOL confronts the systemic harms experienced by Indigenous communities as a result of colonial intervention. Western social work rooted in colonial ideology has persistently disregarded well-established Indigenous knowledge, practices, and law, instead enforcing Eurocentric models of family life and child welfare. In our canoe is our way of life, our language, our law, our customs, and traditions. And in the boat, likewise, are the European language, customs, traditions, and law. We have said, please don't get out of your boat and try to steer our canoe. And we will not get out of our canoe and try to steer your boat. We are going to accept each other as sovereign. We are going to travel down this road of life together, side by side.